Okay, so welcome back to In the Kitchen with Jelly007.com. And tonight I'm doing something a little different than we normally do in the South, if you ask me, and it's tri-tip. And it's because we never see them. I just happened up on one at my local store, Publix. Now, they had already cut it, and they didn't leave it in the loin or whatever it's normally sold as, and they had cut it down to something that looks similar to a New York strip steak, but take my word, it's marked as a tri-tip. And the reason I noticed it is if you look, and in a minute I'll show you a little closer, I mean, it looks like Wagyu. I mean, it has marbling. It looks excellent. So I'm really excited to get it, to have it for my first time. That's the truth. So what I'm going to do, in the Ninja, I'm going to sear it off. I'm going to sear all the sides, and then I'm going to put it on the rack, and I'm going to roast it at around 250, 300 degrees till I get it to about 125. And I'm going to sear it first, which is, everybody does that a little different, but I'm going to sear it first. I'm going to use this meter, which I'm going to try and insert in here and get a temp read of, say, 125. Then I'm going to make sandwiches out of it. That's what it's about. The reason I'm not crazy about the way they cut it, because here's the grain, and if you're watching this, you want to cut against the grain. Well, it's going to be a little tricky. I'm going to have to stand it up and cut it this way, but that's the way I could get it, so that's the way I bought it. So y'all hang on just a second. I'm going to get some of this started, and I'll be right back. Y'all hang on. Okay, so here's what I mean by that marbling. I mean, it looks great, and like I said, I've never had it, but here's also what I mean by they cut it wrong. They're across the, I mean, here's the grain, so I would have to cut it from in this direction to cut against the grain. So I've trimmed it off a little bit. I may trim it a little bit more. I've also put avocado oil and salt on it, and that's all I'm going to put on it before I sear it and we get started. But you get my point. This is a great looking piece of meat, and I see why people rave over it. We just don't see it much down here. So I'm going to get that trimmed up just a little bit. I've already trimmed it a little up. I'm going to get that off, and then I'm going to get the Ninja heated up to about 400, maybe 450, and sear this on all sides best I can. And then we're going to insert the meter probe that I have and try and get this thing to 125, and then slice it up for sandwiches. But y'all hang on, be right back. Okay, so I've got the Ninja heating up. I'm going to check it in a minute to make sure it's around 400, 450 before I put the steaks that are coated with avocado oil, which I also sprayed with avocado oil. That's what's in here. Sprayed the bottom of the pan. Here's what I paid, and that's what it cost in Georgia. $8.69 a pound. That is at Publix. It does, and it is choice beef. It's not prime, and it's not select though. It's choice. So anyhow, let this heat up just a little bit. We're going to sear it off. Okay, so as you can see, I'm getting around 420, maybe 425, and I don't want to set smoke alarms off tonight. So we're going to start this right now, and then all I'm going to do is just every few minutes I'm just going to flip these over. I may stand them on the sides, and I'm going to move them around a little bit because I want them to pick up some of that oil that was in the bottom. So I'll be back in a minute, and I'll show y'all how that looks. Y'all hang on. Okay, so I know with all this sizzling, you're probably not going to be able to hear me that well. I really don't know that. But you can see they look pretty good. That took maybe, I don't know, 7-8 minutes. Not long. And I mean, I held them around like this on the edges. And I mean, you don't even have to. It's not that big of a deal. Get those flat sides done, and that'll give you, the flavor of that caramelization or the searing effect. So, and you can see I didn't get some of the sides that great. In fact, I should have got that silver skin off of that a little better, but the way they sliced it kind of hindered me on that a little bit. I'm blaming it on them anyhow. But I'm going to pull these out and lay them right here, And then the first thing I'm going to do is turn this off, turn the Ninja off, because you don't want it sitting there trying to, if you couldn't see me, obviously I pressed the off button. You don't want it sitting there trying to heat, because it's hot. I mean, it gets hot in a hurry. So I'm going to get these right here set up. We're going to get that, hopefully get my meter inserted and it working well. And then we're going to put the rack in, and we're going to do some baked roast. Be right back. Okay, so even though I've already kind of described this before, because I'm using it, I'm going to again. That is the meter software, and this is the meter device. It charges in here, and this acts as a repeater on this particular unit, but that doesn't matter. All we're using it for is to get an idea of where we are. So in the center, I hope you can see that, in the center of the steak, or in this case, a tri-tip, which is a steak. And I got it inserted about right here, but there's a line, in case you need to know, there's a line right here that you have to cover, because on here it reads the internal and the ambient. It reads the ambient here, the internal here, but you want to get it in that far or you'll get bad ratings because of it'll start reading wrong. So that's all that matters. And so we're already 93 internal. And that's because we seared it first. And that's why I sear first. I mean, a lot of times people will cook them, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I think I can control the internal temp a little better. And I said I'm going to pull it at 125, somewhere around 125, 130. I want medium rare. So doing it, searing first, in my opinion, if you're going to take that reading, you can kind of get a better, in other words, if you cook it and get it to say 125 or 130 and then you sear, you're going to get your temps wrong. So that's just my opinion. You do it how you like. Really, no kidding. So I'm going to close the lid, turn it on, bake roast. We're going to go 375. That's what I think that's a good number, and I don't see any reason not to go with, say, 375, maybe even 400. It's depending on, you know, how you want it, how fast you want it, I guess. But I don't see a problem with 375. So we're going to use that. Bake roast 375 for 15 minutes, because we really don't care about time. Time doesn't matter pretty much. We want this right here is what we're looking for. We want I'm going to say 120. I'll go with 128. How about that? 128, and we're going to pull it out. But we'll come back when it gets a little closer to that. Okay, I let it stay till 130, but there's 6 minutes and 27 seconds left, and we are taking it out. So under 10 minutes, and they are where we want them. 130 is a great temp. It'll be perfect. And, okay, so I did look back, and the camera had shut off. I'm not really sure what happened, but long story short, it cut off. So they've been resting for about 5 minutes. And like I said, I've got to cut this a little different, because the grain, as you can see, is running that way. So it needs to be sliced like this, but that's kind of something the butcher did for me. So they cut it wrong. I'm going to see how it works that way, because I would really, in fact, you know what? Let's see how it looks. I can work around this. Let's see how it looks at 130. And I think that is pretty much like I want it. If you can see it well, I think you can, but that is pretty close to what I want right there. So I'm not complaining. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and figure out a way to slice it against that grain, but I think that's going to work. So let me get that set up and see what happens, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's see how slicing against the grain, which technically to do it, I've got to stand it like this. And it might be best, you know what, to do it like this right here. Just to cut them into pieces about this long. And slice it. And that is perfectly against the grain. And I think that'll make a very good sandwich. And let's see. My first taste of tri-tip. And I see why everybody loves it. It's got a great flavor. It's got a good chew. You know, it's got a good consistency to it. I mean, it's a consistency. It's really good. I'm impressed. So I'm going to slice up. I may leave this one whole. I'm going to slice this one for sandwiches tonight and make a sandwich, and I'm going to eat it. Y'all hang on, I'll show y'all that. Well, I might as well let you see me cutting this up, because it is a very good looking piece of meat. And I've heard about it a long time. It's just not, you know, somebody said it might just be called something different here. But I don't remember ever seeing it. So I'm going to have to do a little bit different right here when I get down to this part. But I'm really close enough. I can do what I want to do with that. That'll make excellent sandwiches right there, I assure you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make me a sandwich. Y'all hang on. Okay, so I don't have to tell you, well, of course, unless you're from where I'm from, where you've never had tri-tip, there's plenty of things to put on them. I mean, the peppers, horseradish, A1, sriracha, anything you want. I mean, it's a sandwich, and I mean, it's a great one. It's a beef, it's a roast beef sandwich with a really good marbling, and I really like the cut. I'm sold. So as long as I can keep getting it, I'll keep eating it. But anyhow, In the Kitchen with Jelly, y'all come back to see me, and I thank you for watching my videos. I really do. Like, share, subscribe, and if you can find you some tri-tip, and you got a Ninja, it's a great way of cooking one. And as I've done before, I've got more food in my mouth than I can talk with. So, y'all have a good night and come back to see me. Bye-bye.